I was a hating child. There's nothing good that can ever come from the street. There is no scrapyard with God. Our Babylon is our offices. Our Babylon is our workspaces.
We're hanging down.
We are hiding. We've built walls and we call them church. That's not a church.
You even wanted me to come DJ.
Yeah.
In your church.
Oh, by the way, I said, God, I need a house. Now I'm getting too deep into monies. What am I doing with millions?
You wanted to call politicians to come and have a debate.
Just Talk with DJ Cappuccino. Need to refresh and unwind? Come to Wild Things at Meropa Casino and Conference Center, where you get to enjoy quad bikes, swimming pools, water park, restaurants, kids games, reptile park, camping, birds park, and many other activities.
On today's episode of Just Talk with DJ Cappuccino, we are honored to welcome a true servant, a spiritual guide, Pastor Don Makumabani, with a profound commitment to both the timeless teachings of Christianity and the contemporary needs of the community. Pastor Don Makumabani embodies the essence of compassionate ministry. As the shepherd of the Covenant House Family Church, they have devoted themselves to nurturing faith, fostering unity, and extending love to all who cross their paths. Their journey in pastoral ministry, marked by 13 years of dedication and service, is a testament to their unwavering faith and unwavering dedication to uplift others. Join us as we delve into the heart of faith, exploring intersection of spirituality and everyday life with Pastor Don as our guide. Welcome to Just Talk with DJ Cappuccino.
Thank you so much, my dear brother. It's such a pleasure to be here. Been looking forward to a platform like this, and such a beautiful introduction you have of me there.
It's here I'm introducing a brother. Our grandmothers are siblings.
Yeah.
We grew up together. Every holidays we were together. And I feel like we're at home.
We're home. Yeah, just having a family talk.
Just having a family talk. But
great stuff.
For those who don't know you, we want to take them back. The little boy. The setting, the village. If there are any memories of your environment, the family background, what was going on, we want you to take people there.
Yeah.
If you can allow us, Pastor Don.
Yeah, by all means. Sure, it's been quite a journey. I was born in the year of the uprisings, 1976, when our country was going through a whole lot of stuff. Apparently, my mother was pregnant with me. I'm the second born of 5 siblings.
Yes.
And raised in the rural village of Mdabula, in what was more of a very poor background, if I may say. And we learned through that to appreciate small things, and appreciate life even more. So in a nutshell, that's who I am and where I come from.
Yeah. And how was the setting, if you can still remember, in terms of the things that you feel have actually impacted you? Some things that you can actually draw from childhood, now I can still remember where I grew up. There were issues sometimes when we get disciplined, sometimes when you see your parents do this, when, there are some ways I can still remember what my dad told me, all those things, also from socialization, playing with friends in the street. There are some things that I feel like as you're growing up, they stay and craft the person that you are today.
True.
I don't know if you still have maybe other fondest memories you can think of, what shaped, because I want people to understand with the great things that you're doing, you were once a boy. Also, you village west in the villages.
Yeah.
When we visited Mdabula when we were growing up, it was a dark place.
It was.
Very dark. You couldn't, at night, it's like, I don't know where that place is. Yeah. You see, so that's what I'm trying to check with you.
Of course, there is so much that impacted on the man I am today, because in fact, every one of us, your upbringing has a lot of contribution to make to who you become, whether as a businessman, as a husband, or as a father. because, in fact, you turn to even become the thing that you're trying to run away from, that thing that you hated growing up. But then in my case, I've always been this, I'm not sure whether because of my space of birth, I've always been a loner. A loner.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a very short distance between myself and my two siblings, who is my elder brother and my younger brother. So I've always felt that I have not had enough attention as a child, because I am 2 years younger than my brother, elder brother, and a year older than my younger brother. So you can imagine, as the middle child.
There was no time to breathe.
Exactly. There was no time to breathe, and you feel that the attention is always given to either the younger one and this and that. So I learned to be independent early, to an extent that when I go back to the village and I tell people who I am, they only know my elder brother and my younger brother.
Like you were not there.
Like I was never there. So yeah, that's more or less. So that has also created that gap, and felt the sense of who am I, and I think that's part of my journey. So I learned to stand on my own early.
How were you like in primary school? Were you, because you've always been disciplined since I've known you.
Yeah, I think school, I was not the brightest. Everything came hard for me. I had to work hard for everything, even to pass an exam. It always had to come hard. But then I think I was fortunate because I really, really was very disciplined. I learned, like I'm saying, that to stand on my own, to make means by myself and all that. So that discipline really helped me to grow, and never had any issues, never was involved in a fight. And funny enough, I was always the smallest in my group, and I was always out of trouble. I don't remember engaging in any fights. I was the best runner. If anything happens, I'm out of them.
How was the schooling system around? Because I can imagine Mdabula in the early 80s when you went to school. It was a serious rural area.
Very much so.
These are places that started to develop after 94.
Yeah.
If we have to be honest about it.
Yeah.
Like, how was it? The school, the quality, if you can still remember. Do you think you were getting the right stuff? Were you fed what you needed, or it was just a, by the way, these people need to pass here?
You see, that was one very complicated thing. Our village was designed in a way that we had a clinic, I think we had a church, and then it was a Lutheran, a Swiss mission church, and then a school. They all happened to be in the same vicinity. Now, around those facilities, you will get your nurses, your teachers, and your police, and then further from that, then it was those of us whose parents never went to school or anything like that. So that is the setup. You can already imagine.
You must walk long distance.
You must walk long distances.
Yeah. Barefooted.
The one memory I had, which unfortunately when we were doing sub B, a cousin of mine who was a class ahead of us did something very funny. We would walk together from school. I was further down, would walk, collect him, and then we'd go to school. What he did one day, we had, the duster, the chalkboard duster.
Yes.
The green chalkboard dusters. So we only had one in the school.
It must go through all the classes.
They will send you, go and get it from that class to come in. Yeah, so one day, it is in our class. He's a class ahead of me.
And by the way, it was an instrument to punishment again.
Definitely. They used it to punish us. So he got so fed up with that. And he came, he fetched it, it was in our class. He stood there and he made what was like a joke then. And he even used a swear word, taking that duster and said, I don't know. I don't know if it's appropriate for my children to hear me say.
Yeah.
And he took the duster. He said, I'm leaving. I will see what will they use to, erased the boards. He took that thing. He never set foot at school ever again. Yes. It was so bad and very hostile for us. I said that to say this, that for us it was very difficult even to go to school because the distance you would have to walk bare feet, sometimes without having eaten anything. When
In winter.
In winter even.
Even in summer, it's bad. It's hot.
I mean, you think about that.
And those places can get hot.
Nothing to eat even.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
No feeding scheme.
nothing at that time. So I remember this particular day as if it was yesterday, where we were beaten so bad because we were late. And behind us came these kids who were either a teacher's kid or
Nurse. I know those kids.
So they passed, and say, Makumbani, why were you late? Because
And they pass with a nice uniform. Clean.
Nice uniform.
When you have that pants that you've been wearing for 3 years.
You know what I mean? So the question would be asked, why were you late? Because these ones, at least we understand, tea is hot. You can't drink tea rushing. Where now you just have to take pap and put tea and come to school. Why were you late? And we would be beaten. There was another teacher, I'll never forget this. They used to call her Rambanyini. Rambanyini means, it's in Tonga you would know, call your mother. Yeah, or she wouldn't play. She would beat you so bad that you would have to go call your mother. So this particular day when we were beaten, I got so angry because it didn't make sense to me. Why would their mother be coming to teach every day and my mother is not coming? So that at least I can also have the privilege, of being late and having bread and rama, at that time. And
That was a big deal.
it was. So I went home and I asked my mom, I said, but why is it that you are not coming to teach us? So that at least I can have the privilege.
Can't you be the teacher, man?
Can't you be, just even if it's one day? So I didn't understand.
You didn't understand. You must qualify. You must.
Because for me, even going to school, it was like, to me, it's a routine. I'm just going there because I have to. It was not like you're doing this so that there can be anything coming out of it. And I think maybe that is also what drove my passions later on in life and so forth. And so those are the memories that I can share with you in terms of upbringing. And at some point, I was so angry, I failed sub B.
Yeah, no. If you fail sub B, then yeah.
Yeah, no, I was angry. I was very angry. I was a hating child. You come home from school, long day of school, there's not even food. And it doesn't make sense. Why would others have and I don't have? And you get there and then you get this kind of treatment. And by the way, we also didn't have books. We would literally write on the floor. We would go outside of the class, which was
And in those days, there were slates. Ibile.
Yeah.
I don't know if you had them.
No, I think during our time, it was past the slate time. It was. I don't know whether it was a slate then, but when my father
I think they were, because
will write and erase,
Yeah,
write
and
and
erase,
erase.
yeah.
Yeah, it could be something like that. So that's where we came from. That's where we came from. And
high school?
High school, in our village, we had your primary, we had the secondary, and then we had the high school. Higher primary. That's what we used to call it. That would come from standard, I think it was standard 3, 4, and 5, and then Form 1, which was standard 6 at that time. I went to so like I said, the vicinity where the schools were, they were not far from each other. So I went to Tlangelani Primary School, and then later on went to Twananani Higher Primary School, but I did only 1 year. Because what then happened then was, there was an incident that happened with my uncle, your brother's son, your brother basically, who was involved in a terrible accident here, which, there was a fire and he was burned at a very early age.
Yes.
And so, being this middle child, I think there was a conversation between the grannies to say who would look after him because it was bad at that time. So they compromised me. I had to leave to a village called Shigamani.
And coming to think of it, I know you stayed there, but I didn't know the main reason.
That was the reason.
You see, now they're making sense.
To look after my cousin brother. It was bad. Fortunately, as you know, he was burned beyond recognition. I remember when we had to go to Harankua They had to, open his eyes like that. His ears.
I can still even remember how he looked like before the baby.
Before then.
That beautiful boy. Oh. I can still see him even now.
I tell you. So, and so because of that, I had to move from there to go to Shikamani. That's when I did my high school, looking after him. It was tough. I mean, just walking out of the gate with him already, the laughs, the ridicule with other kids. It was.
He's one strong guy, man.
Man, I mean, when I look at him now and look at the man he became, it's quite amazing.
He's a family man,
Quite
running
family
things,
man,
pushing.
running a business,
Yeah.
doing very well. Doing very well. He's done very well for himself.
Yes.
And you must see how he loves the children. No. Whenever we're together and the kids are coming running,
And he sees himself
and
in
he
them.
sees himself there, and because he missed out on that stage of childhood, and so that thing somehow had an impact on me.
You had to grow up.
I had to be the big man and make sure that I shield him, protect him, and and the good thing is that the family was doing well, and they really took good care of me at that time.
Things
Then
changed. There was Rama.
For me, things
Bread
changed.
nyana,
You
you could rush home and have something to eat.
You know how it is. But obviously, you can't discount the fact that there will be those elements there. You eating
they
a
will
lot. And
touch there, yeah. Some
yeah.
will be called nyana. It happens. Yeah.
So my life has been that. And from there, I then I took myself to Ketongumalo High School, Agricultural High School. When then the boy could stand on his own, and it was now a common thing that, okay, fine, there is this incident that has happened, and he was by himself. Then I went to IK. I think I went to do my standard 8 then, and then that's why I completed my matric. And I think that's where my life really got a great turn, and that's why I met the Lord. Yeah.
In high school.
In high school.
Yeah, that's where I met the Lord too.
Or that's where the Lord found me.
Yeah.
Like other people will say, I found the Lord. And
Yeah.
I mean, look, you can't find him. He's not lost. You are the one lost, so he finds you.
A career path, I know that you, I can even say, without mincing anyway, you're still a businessman.
Yeah.
But I know that you also, your career took the line of business and everything.
Yeah.
But I want us to navigate from the business environment then to your calling now.
Yeah. Fortune, my life has been very complicated in that I did not get the privilege, and this might shock a lot of people. The furthest class I have experienced sitting in a classroom was matric. Yeah. I didn't get the privilege to go to varsity. I didn't get the privilege to study any further than that. Anything else that I did was outside class. And so I can clearly say I'm a product of God's grace and self-taught.
Or the streets,
Well,
as we call it.
the streets, funny that I think my first pastor used to say something very, very profound. And he would say to me, Don Wananga, there's nothing good that can ever come from the street.
No, the holy streets. Which streets are you talking about? Yeah.
So I think that shielded me from that life. I've never had an experience with that side of life, if I may say. Because, by the way, it is in high school after I met the Lord, and then I met my now wife. So with that also, I've never had any,
You became old at a very young age. Responsible. Pela, when we related, I had this thing that you are my big brother.
And we're very young then.
Yeah, very young. But you were a person who said, no, we don't do this.
We can't do that. We can't.
Don't worry, don't fight them. Leave them the way they are.
That's
you were that voice, man.
That's me.
Yeah.
That's me. And I think, and funny enough, with IK, Fortune, my dad, like I said, that I took myself to IK. He didn't see any problem with who I was. So I took myself there, I registered myself there. He dropped me, he never came. Once paid one school fees and said, you're on your own.
Yeah.
I made my way through. I bought a camera the camera that you would wind and take pictures. So I would take pictures of students there because we were not allowed to leave the school, by the way. You would only leave at particular days when parents would come. And
There's no pocket money you are getting?
pocket money, there's no nothing. So I bought myself a camera, which I used to pay my school fees. And every morning, afternoon, when we go to the dining hall, instead of standing in the queue for food, I stood right at the door selling acha. So I would buy a bucket of acha and then I would be selling to the students. So that's how I took myself through high school. Wow. Yeah. So the business aspect came from there. Yeah.
But besides, I think you and me are coming from our grandmothers were very amazing. I could see my grandmother was selling at the market, at the bus rank. But she would maximize what she was getting.
And this you don't know, that when it will be so bad, I would run to Ben's store.
She always had money.
And she always had money. So she would package something for me there and then, with no issues. And she won't even tell nobody about it. And from there, as a matter of fact, the bucket of acha I'm talking, the first bucket of acha I sold, I got from her. Yeah, and I remember now because she said, no, because of food and what, take this. I sold it.
If there's one thing, I feel like we played with it when she was still alive. She wanted all the family relatives to be together. Remember, it was a meeting house there.
Yeah.
And we would come from Pretoria with our tendencies.
Come from Dabula.
But we didn't understand what that woman wanted to do. Yeah. I remember she wanted to Tibana King Sereto.
Yes.
She would want to teach us but we didn't listen to her and she's gone.
Oh man.
With those things.
I tell you.
Yeah.
I tell you.
So the calling. Just take us to the journey of you becoming a pastor.
Yeah, I think there wasn't any dramatic call like a burning bush experience that I can relate.
Well, you see a burning bush. It's not burning, but it's burning.
And hear a voice and all that.
Come here, my son.
It probably came from the passion of wanting to see change. Right? Wanting to see change with, when I looked at my dad, look at my mom, look at the situation back home, and thought to myself, there must be a better life somehow, somewhere. And I remember we would go to crusades and hear the word being preached. And I then gave my life to the Lord. And when I heard of how amazing this God is and the things he did in scripture, and I read the Bible and I thought, it looks like there can be a solution to my family situation.
There's hope here.
There's hope.
There are principles. If you do this,
Yeah.
I will bless you.
I'll bless you. And
Obey my I will.
I saw how he delivered the children of Israel from slavery that was a span of over 430-something years, and how he prospered them. And I thought, this looks like me. I think I need something like this. And I started that journey. And from there, I never looked back. And so there was a need at school, where I thought, I found this life, man. And I see other kids at school who probably come from backgrounds like I did. And I found this new life. I started speaking to them and say, hey, man, don't you want to receive what I've received? Look, I'm happy, and yet I know I don't have money. I'm okay, yet I don't have this and that. And for me, poverty ended there. It was not something physical that I saw changing, but there was just a change inside. And that really stayed with me. And that's where, for me, ministry began by wanting others to have what I have. And because I received it this way, I started giving it that way. And the rest is history. And from there, I didn't want to. It's very funny because I even had opportunities to do business, but I felt, I think I'm robbing the world of something. So I would go.
This is where I belong.
Yeah, I would go and do that. I remember praying a very foolish prayer when I then got married, because my wife was also into the things of God. So we were so preoccupied about preaching the gospel until I realized, hey, I didn't lay a proper foundation here. I need a house, at least one car, oh God, so that I can. So God, just give me a house and just a car to get my family by, because you called me, you didn't call them, so at least they can be comfortable. And God being faithful, the first house we had when we got to Polokwane here, God was faithful. We got one house, and then there's a car. And guess what? A business partner just ripped everything off, and he knocked me close to $1 million.
Yeah. Muriu.
So I'm waking up. The foolish prayer was that, oh, by the way, I said, God, I need a house. Now I'm getting too deep into monies. What am I doing with millions? Get back to ministry.
Now, if you fight that, you are in now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it was like the money is an evil that is hooking me. Cantina, it was just an issue of bringing balance, and all that. So the calling has always been there. I've always known that this is what God wants me to do, and I'm finding peace with it. I'm happy. This is what I live for. And the good thing is that the wife that God gave me really lives for the same. Yeah.
And how does being a Christian and also being a pastor, what does it mean to you?
I think it's everything to me because I don't know any other life outside this. And because that word Christian basically means being Christ-like. You here on earth, he says, you are the light of the world. You are the salt of the earth. For me, it means to be the legs, the hands, and the mouthpiece of Christ here on earth. That's what basically it is. In Matthew, I think it's in Matthew 5 and verse 14, the Bible speaks of, in fact, the Message translation says, this is the reason why you are here, to bring God's flavors to the world. Yeah. So you must be an ambassador of the kingdom.
You're the salt of the earth.
You are the salt of the earth. You are here to bring that influence. Yeah. So in a nutshell, I think that's what it means to me to be.
Because I always wonder, I would like to believe that I read the Bible extensively.
Sure.
And one tries to find a link between the society we live in right now and also linking it with the Bible that is actually written many years ago. And how do you balance the traditional teachings of Christianity with the changing norms, digital environment, TikToks? Our youth is different now. They think differently. They are fed this and that.
Sure.
Like the balance between those.
I'll tell you this, Cappuccino. The one interesting thing about the Bible is that it is relevant across time and generations. What the Bible meant during Adam's time and during Mandela's time, it's still the same thing even in our time. Because in Hebrews, the Bible says Jesus is the same yesterday, today, and forever. Times may change, but the principle of Scripture remains. What he did then, he can still do even now. So, for me, the Bible remains relevant. Christianity remains relevant. It doesn't change because of the times. I mean, come to think of it, the Bible basically is the oldest book. And if you adopt its morals and its standards, it will still deliver the same results that it delivered for them.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
No. It makes sense the way you're breaking it down.
Yeah.
But I want you to share memorable experience where your role as a pastor, because I believe that there's this say you want to touch lives, or you have to, either way, had a significant impact on someone's life. I know that you've touched thousands, but there must be highlights where you feel like, me being there, this is what I've experienced. I don't want to put it in a way where you saw the God's hands or what. No. But there must be a certain experience or experiences, obviously. And when you went home, you were like, God, I'm playing a role here.
Yeah.
And you allowed me to be part of this.
Yeah. There is nothing so beautiful like seeing a transformed life. That, for me, is the greatest testimony that one can ever have. To seeing a life that was lost being transformed to the reality of the gospel.
Somebody written off. Like one of my mentors will always say that there is no scrapyard with God. Imagining a life being transformed, somebody who had given up hope
and you see their lives coming together. I had a young man who almost committed suicide. And when you listen to his reasons, were very valid. And having walked the journey with him and see him become a family man, raising his children, and you think that this life would have been lost, it brings tears to my eyes.
Yes. Where even when you started to deal with a person, you were like, are we going to win here?
I had so many doubts. And even when I went to sleep, I'll say to myself, did I really reach him? And God will say to me, my word is a seed. You are not the miracle worker, you are a messenger. All you needed to do was to plant that seed in his
I'll do what I do.
I'll do my job. That keeps me going.
Yeah. And you know, when I analyze the church and with my understanding, any church that doesn't have a link to community, to me, I think, I don't know, it's worthless.
Yeah.
You know, I want to understand if your church, how does your church engage with the local community? What programs do you have and what are challenges that you're facing in terms of having community programs? Because a church without community programs, I think many pastors need to relook.
Yeah.
It's not about just coming in and praying in tongues and going home.
Sure.
Yeah.
Cappuccino, it's a wonder to me why would even use the language. And I think that's what is happening there. It's like there is us and them. That's a very wrong approach to the gospel. No. We've built walls and we call them church. That's not the church. The church is the people.
I remember when you wanted me to come DJ.
Yeah.
In your church. I remember, I'm not sure how far it is, you wanted to call politicians to come and have a debate.
Definitely.
From different political parties.
Yeah. Because there's no us and them. You see, the problem is that we have made church to be like a bomb shelter of some sort, where we come in and hide from them. And the mandate, when Jesus left, the last thing he told his disciples was that, go ye.
To the world.
He didn't say, gather and let them come. Yes. So the church is not the walls that we're looking ourselves in. I always ask people a question. I say, listen, if your church was to be closed, if you were to close your doors,
COVID times,
what is it that your community will miss except the noise? If you will close your doors and your community will not miss anything about you, then you are irrelevant. The church is part of the community. You know, we sit and then we blame politicians, we blame government. The only solution that God left when he said to Abraham, I will bless you and I will make you great. The nations of the world will be blessed by you. It's not politicians who will bring change. It's not politicians who will save our communities. No.
it's not the mayor.
It's not the mayor. He says, behold, I give you all power. It says, all authority in heaven and on earth has been given to me. I therefore give unto you. Go ye in the world, make disciples of all nations. Cappuccino, we will have a better government if the church understood its assignment. Right? Because I believe as a fivefold minister, Ephesians says, the fivefold ministry has a responsibility to equip the saints for the work of the ministry. And that scripture is not clearly understood. The work of the ministry is not within the walls of the church. I'll tell you this. The Israelites are saying in one of the Psalms, Psalm 137, by the rivers of Babylon, we sat down, we wept when we remembered Zion. Guess what they say? We hung our harps in the willows thereof. And then they asked us to sing the Lord's song. And then they themselves said, but how can we sing the Lord's song in a strange land? What a missed opportunity. Here it is. They are in Babylon. These are the children of God.
Chosen. The chosen nation.
Chosen nation. They are captured in Babylon as slaves. When they get there, what do? They sit down. They came armed with harps. They say, we hung our harps in the willows thereof, and we sat down, we cried. And then they say, how can we sing the Lord's song in a strange land? That is exactly what the church is doing today. We have the authority, we have the power, we have the word. Prayer changes things, Cappuccino. And then we get into government, we get into parliament, and we say, how can I live this Christian life in a corrupt world?
It's like it's not a word. It's like it's far away from you.
We will sing when we go back to Jerusalem. We will sing on Sunday when we get to church, but when we get to the office on Monday, we are a different breed. Our Babylon is our offices. Our Babylon is our workspaces.
We're hanging down.
We are hiding. But come Sunday, we are shouting, we are dancing, making the loudest. Come Monday, you have a doctor, qualified Christian doctor, who comes to church and then sing and shout and then go out to the workspace and don't carry the values that they are being taught in church.
Yeah, well.
And yet we are placed there strategically. Trust me, if we were to equip our Christians in church as pastors to say, listen, you are not called just for the pulpit. Being a medical doctor where you are, it's a calling. Sing the Lord's song in that space where you are in. In your business environment, sing the Lord's song right where you are. But what do we do when they gather on Sunday morning? We make them shout. We're not equipping them on how to become that salt that we are meant to be, to become that light that we are meant to be. Believe me, an average Christian who you find in a workspace, you will not even know they're a Christian because they don't live out those Christian values. How many people do you know who were Christians before they got into office? How many people do you know who were powerful believers? Or even now, who are powerful Christians on Sunday, but you don't see that Christian values in their workspace. So for me, the work of the church is not just to clap hands on Sunday and block people's parkings, is to equip these believers that go out and in affect.
Go ye to the world.
That's how you go. So that's for me the relevance of the church. Yeah.
And how do you navigate around sensitive topics like the LGBTQ plus, the teenage pregnancy, abortion, in church, drug
Polygamy.
abuse, polygamy? How do you navigate around such things?
It's a very interesting question. Look, I always say that if me and you will talk about your sexuality while you are on the other side of the fence, what we'll eventually do, we'll engage in a fight. We will fight because I don't think we'll find each other. God is like a father who has lost his sons and daughters. And then he's going out with love to find them to himself. Right? So he doesn't ask whether you are gay or you're straight. You are his child. What I'm trying to say is this. God loves all his people equally. Yes. So the same one that the church is standing and pointing fingers at and say, you are this, you are that, you are that. Even me being here, I was found, just like anybody else who must still be found. And what did he do when he found me? He embraced me with his love. He didn't judge me. You see, so if we can come from the premise of God's love, there's nothing that we'll be afraid to talk about. Love covers us all.
That makes sense.
Yes.
That really makes sense.
Because if he found me and there's something wrong with my sexuality, it won't need you to tell me there's something wrong with my sexuality. The love of God will convict me. So what the church is trying to do, we're standing on the peripheries and then we are pointing fingers. You see, as if we are sent out to pass judgment. I always say this, Cappuccino, that I am called to be a shepherd, not a policeman. You see? So pastors have assumed the position of a policeman. If I catch you doing wrong, I will send God to punish you. If I catch you doing wrong. No. I'm a shepherd, not a policeman.
Interesting.
Yeah. So a gay man, come to church. Find the love of God. You're a drunkard, come. You are a womanizer, come to church. Find the love of God. It's the love of God that must convict you. I can't convince you, but the word of God, the love of God must convict you. Yeah.
That's very profound. How do you see the role of technology, especially in the digital world that we're living in, playing in the future of Christianity?
Yeah. Technology has always been there. Jesus used technology.
Tell me about it.
Yeah, the best technology of the time. He used that. You know, when he...
Your donkey?
Yeah, when he came to Jerusalem, that was the best at that time. Oh, that riding on a donkey at that time was classic.
Going to the other side of the sea. And
He needed a boat, you know. So technology is not a new thing. And I like it because look at what he does. He finds Peter on the shores after toiling the whole night. And he says to them, throw the nets into the deep for a catch. So that was the technology they were using at that time. So I'm saying there's nothing evil with the internet. Jesus said, throw the net because that was the technology of the time. So now why can't we throw the internet? Because it's the technology of the time. They threw the nets, we throw the internet.
Because if there's one thing I've observed coming to a church, I've got to give it to you.
Oh,
it's well organized, Pastor Don.
oh man.
And you know I'm specific about the sound. Sure. I've been to churches where the noise, it's overwhelming.
Yeah.
I've seen how the setting, I've seen the lighting, the ambience, the screen.
Oh, thank you.
And I think you are moving in with the times of the church I like.
Yeah.
Maybe other people can say whatever they say, but looking at where you come from, you have even surpassed other people who've been in the game. Yeah. And also some who thought money would work for them and make their church look, because I know that you started your church very broke.
Yeah.
and you made something out of what you received and everything.
Yeah.
And that's why I say there's interlink. You one of those people during COVID, we would follow what's going on. You'll still manage to get the message across. Yeah. And I want to commend you.
Yeah, two things on that quickly, because I believe the Bible, and I take the Bible literally because the Bible will say faith comes by hearing in the book of Romans. Faith comes by hearing, and hearing by faith. So where we come from, the background we come from is that of saying, no, Bazalwane, don't worry about my voice. Only listen to the words, you know. And you find the mic is squeaking here, and this is doing that and doing that. For me, it distorts the faith that must come by hearing. So if I can hear clearly, how then do I develop faith?
If the zing.
I mean, can you imagine coming from a church service and then you are sitting at home, you can still hear that squeaking sound in your ears and all that. And by the way, it doesn't even take a lot of money to do that. And for me, I'll tell you, Jesus, oh my goodness, Jesus was a man of order. Look, when he had to perform a miracle, remember there was 5,000 men without counting children and women in a dry place where they were hungry, right? So they come to Jesus and said, hey, the people are hungry and so forth and so on. So Jesus says to them, yes, I've got the power to perform the miracle. But let's put some order first. He says, make the people sit down in 50s. He was particular. Let them sit in 50s. And he was particular where they must sit. Let them sit in 50s on the grass. You see? So they arranged them 50. Can you imagine arranging over 25,000 people in 50s? 50. I'm saying 25,000 because, I mean, they only counted 5,000 men. And by the way, you could marry more than one wife. And those guys could give birth. I mean, one guy can have about how many children?
Very the Bible is progressive.
Yeah, no, very. Yeah. So I'm saying order. Jesus made them sit in order. And only when the order was complete and done, he performed the miracle of multiplying the bread.
There's no miracle when there's disorder.
No. God can bless disorder. And from that, guess what happens? When they were all fed, when they all ate, he then comes and says, gather the crumbs. As if he knew that if they sat on the dust, that was going to be a waste. That's another thing. God is not a waster. They gathered crumbs, and they were particular to say, after they gathered all the crumbs, there were about 12 baskets that were full. So they gathered all that. So I'm trying to say that creating an atmosphere, create an atmosphere in your environment, and things will happen. Yeah.
And I think that lesson goes also even in your life. You want a miracle from God, fix things, put things in order. Because the miracle will come in a disorderly place and get misused, get abused.
Definitely.
I think that's what I'm getting from what you're saying. But also now, when we discuss history and global politics now, and when we step a little bit out of wanting to appear too much spiritual and everything, Christianity played a significant role in the era of European colonialism and expansion.
Very true.
That is one of the first media, the Bible, that we received from colonizers.
Sure.
And particularly from the 15th and 20th century, European powers often used Christianity for missionary work.
Yeah.
I think in your area, Swiss mission did it very well.
Definitely.
They had to send the Swiss missionaries to occupy there and everything. So to people who are saying, but Christianity was a tool to colonialize our black people, Africa, to defeat us. What do you say to such?
It's not correct to say that. Here's what happened with that history. The first missionaries came with a clear mandate of bringing the gospel when they came the first time. When they went back, businessmen hijacked
Saw the opportunity.
So they rode on that.
They
and
disguised.
came back with those to say, now, we will not fund your assignment.
Let's see.
Let's do this so that we can fund that.
Then they see arable land.
Yeah.
Then so you agreeing that they used it for their self-interest.
And unfortunately, you see, the thing is this, that you can make the Bible say what you want it to say. The Bible was used for wrong things as well. Slavery, for instance.
Yeah.
Yeah. They used the Bible.
The Bible was the only book slaves were allowed to read.
Exactly.
But it's questionable.
Yeah, look, like I'm saying, you can use the Bible for anything. You can use the Bible to say what you want it to say.
Anything.
You can. That's what the colonizers, they just took advantage of that, and then they brainwashed our people and so forth and so on. And of course, it is a painful thing to read through that. But to say that the gospel is a white man's religion, it's not purely correct. It was abused by people who had, just like now, my brother. You will notice that it's not everybody who's a pastor is a pastor.
Tell me about it.
We still are using the pulpit. You understand? And when I say we, I mean it's happening. You get womanizers on the pulpit. You get business people who are just making money and milking people of their last livelihoods in the name of God.
Making them feel guilty about it.
So that does not mean that's Christianity that's doing that. Yeah.
And I think we have to agree also, there's an impact of Christianity on our indigenous culture, our way of life and the way of thinking. And as Africans, we had cultural norms, ethos, and everything. We had traditions. And Christianity just smashed those things. And a new culture came from it. I don't know if, how would you come in when you're looking at that? Is it fair? Is it something that...
It is only wrong when somebody will use one culture to demonize another. All right. And I want to believe that even the people who preached the gospel to us initially, they demonized anything and everything that was black. And again, it was because they were pushing a narrative and they wanted to achieve a particular agenda, which they did very well because we developed self-hatred. we hated ourselves because of what they were pumping into our heads. Things like issues of our ancestors, for instance. All right. They would come and tell you that you should have no contact or connection with your ancestors. Meanwhile, the Bible is the book of lineages.
It's a book of ancestors, this one.
It's a book of lineages.
Yeah.
I mean, the opening of Jesus' life.
They will tell you Rehoboam was a
The
father.
son of.
And they take it serious.
Very serious. And then we come here and we tell our people that you must cut yourself loose from your lineage, which is wrong. And you see, that can bring a conflict. So it was not preached right. The only thing is when we come now into an issue of worshiping ancestors. You understand what I'm saying? When we come to a point whereby we turn them into gods, they can't be gods. They are as human as we are. I'm just even asking myself, my grandmother, let her soul rest in peace, struggling with the peanuts that she was giving us. And then I want to go to her grave and say, bless me. Am I not laying a big burden on her? She couldn't do it for me when she was here. I think she has done enough with the peanuts. Let her soul rest in peace. And I will not stop appreciating the contribution she made in my life because I'm a Christian. I'll go to the grave, clean the grave up, let my children know this is where your grandmother lies. Yeah.
The praying and the worshipping of ancestors, that's why it's actually...
Definitely the scriptures are against that.
Because the other thing is, I would like to believe that I've read the Bible.
Yeah.
And it's one book that I think one would also read.
Yeah.
Go back to it. There's some things that happen and I'm like, hey, let me go check the scriptures.
Yeah.
And some are still fresh. Like as you're quoting them, I'm like, oh
yeah.
I might have forgotten where they're coming from, but I can still follow them.
Yeah.
And I haven't even seen one scripture where the devil kills people. And God has been murdering from Genesis to Revelation, has been massacred. Sodom and Gomorrah, even drowned people, millions of them. God has been murdering, my man.
Yeah.
And to someone maybe with on a layman's perspective and challenging and say, but who's the good guy here?
Yeah.
Because this is a God who would kill firstborns from the Egyptians.
Yeah.
The God would harden the heart of Pharaoh so that he can kill him.
Yeah.
I don't know, and I hope it's not blasphemy, because there's a thin line.
Yeah.
Whenever we're dealing with this, this is the God who burned Sodom and Gomorrah through bombs there.
Sure.
And we have in the chosen nation, which is the Israelites, that are killing people as we are sitting right now.
Yeah.
And they've been killing people
From forever.
for many years.
Yeah.
And one wonders what's good here.
I will give you one thing that I didn't tell you. I'm not a theologian, and I will not try to answer that question in a theological way. But from my small mind, I will ask you a question. If we agree that God created the heavens and the earth, and if we agree with Psalm 24 that the lefase ke la morena le makoko a lona, if we agree, you have a house, you own everything in your house, and you start moving your furniture around the way you want. Where am I to come and question you?
So he has the license to whatever he's doing.
It's his. That's my understanding.
Yeah, because I find it difficult. I will try to visualize. I mean, he opened the sea. After some people passed it, closed it. People, man.
And others died, yeah.
And in the literal sense of the word, I see someone brutal.
Yeah.
Who's even willing to burn us until eternity.
Yeah.
If we don't love him.
I hear you, but from my analogy...
What you're saying is that it is his... We are his people.
My analysis of things is, why did he do that? Those are your shoes.
can do whatever.
You wear them whether you are, if you choose to use that pair to borrow and not use that, or take that car and sell it and buy another one. This is where I'm coming from.
Yes.
And please, I'm putting a disclaimer on that. I'm not going to give you a theology.
You can't theologize and
My
theorize
understanding
this
is that he created it all.
It's interesting. My wife is in Bible school now.
Okay.
So will be a certified
Pastor. Yeah.
Later. And we have these discussions. I always, try to press.
Yeah, sure, you should.
Try to check.
And I think, by the way, that's not blasphemy. Those questions must be asked.
Yeah.
And it's not answers like this that must be given. We need to give deep answers and find the heart of God about it. And there's nothing wrong with asking questions.
No, I think you're very smart. Many pastors attempt to answer these things.
Oh, I can't speak for God.
And they go wrong.
Oh, no.
They even make us angry more than we are. And confuse us more than, the way you answered it, I think, is the safest answer I've ever received.
Oh.
And it also makes sense. And what you also literally saying is that, hey, some are just way above I could understand.
Sure.
Even you, I think, indirect, you're saying there are many things I read that I understand, some I don't, Cappuccino, that are in the very same book.
Sure.
That is keeping our faith together. So I was telling you a joke about it that sometimes I would press her, and she's afraid to listen to these things. She'll block her mind, and then, for instance, when I go to church with her, I'll keep quiet. If she asks me how was church, I'll say, hey, but your pastor, man.
Yeah.
He said this or she said this. And, where's the sense in this?
Yeah.
And we start to have a fight. But I believe that, these questions get raised. And
We have to.
these questions break us and everything.
Yeah.
But overall, Pastor Don, I love the work you're doing.
Thank you.
And I love the work the church throughout
Yeah.
South Africa and throughout the world is doing. And then I also believe if there's one thing that maybe I would allow my children to go to church is the issue of ethics, the issue of balance, the issue of understanding the law.
Yeah.
Remember, the church starts to teach someone the law at a very young age.
Yeah.
And I always tell you that I think your job is one of those most difficult and important jobs because you are dealing with the soul.
Yep.
And you must take care.
And it's not going to end here because, you see, scriptures are very clear that we will account for the souls that we've been assigned to. It's like what I said to you that we assigned as shepherds. God will ask, I put this on your custody. I put this family in your custody.
I put the man of God at a podcast in front of you.
Yeah, and you didn't really give them the whole truth. One, because you were worried you tell them the truth, you lose their money.
You lose the congregation.
You lose the congregation, and or you use them. You see, when I say shepherd, another way of looking at it is this. Imagine you're going to get married, and then you have a best man. And you say to the best man, listen, I want you to look after my bride. I'm coming back. And then he rapes her. When you come back, you find that he made her his own wife, and yet you are the one who said to him, I'm calling you to look after her. The church is called the bride of Christ. It's not. That's why I'm scared to say my church. Because it's his church.
You are just having a role.
I'm a steward. He left. He says, I'm going to come back, take care of it. We will account. Let them have fun now, but trust me, that time is coming where accounts will be given. It's not going to be good. What will surprise you is when we get to heaven, it will not be to see people in heaven that you were thinking will not be there.
Yeah, you'll find us.
The greatest surprise will be to find people in hell that you thought these ones are automatically going to heaven, for failing to do the assignment that God has left for us to do.
No, you'll find us there in heaven.
Yeah.
You'll find Cappuccino. Just a parting shot. Pastor Don, if there's, you see, the devil is making me cough.
Oh, sorry.
Parting shot, if there's anything that comes to your mind or just something that maybe God is planting in your spirit to say, especially towards the elections, other current problems that we're having, in South Africa right now. I'm giving the Holy Spirit a chance to minister in you.
Yeah.
Because I feel like it could be also one life-changing and something that stays digitally that can even impact the life of someone in 10 years from now.
I would say that to everybody out there, help is not coming from anywhere. There's nobody coming to rescue us.
No manna from heaven.
No manna from heaven. We need to rise, defend what is rightfully ours. And as Christians, let's step out of our church walls, go out and make the difference. It's not going to be made by somebody else from somewhere. If you were thinking that you will sit home because you are angry and not go and vote, you are doing injustice to the generations that are coming from behind you. They will have you to blame.
Wow, man.
They will have you to blame. And I would encourage more Christians to rise, occupy the spheres of influence, get into politics. Jesus was a politician.
A serious one.
Very serious one. His father was a businessman.
Challenging the Jews. Challenging the laws.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And he himself, when he left, he said, occupy till I come. Do business till I come. We can't stand back and watch our country go to ruins. Meanwhile, we have the power. And by the way, Cappuccino, the Christian church in South Africa has more numbers than any political party. But you see, the problem that we are having, the devil is keeping us busy with small politics.
You guys can take on the government
we can take on
tomorrow.
The government easily. Easy. As Christians. But the problem is, okay, you are a Christian, but you are wearing blue. I'm Christian, I'm wearing white shoes. So then we're dividing ourselves.
Pentecostals, charismatics,
for what?
Evangelists, the Catholics.
So we are busy with ourselves.
If all Christians can say, everyone who believes in God, let's change this thing.
Just like this. Where do you think the ANC was birthed? In church. The values of the ANC are rooted in church. And by the way, the church has played a major role from the beginning. The clinics,
even the
liberation came through this thing. We can liberate our people. I'm saying, if you are a pastor and the plight of your people don't bother you, resign. If you want to gather people on Sunday and tell them about heaven, and yet you can't stand for the service delivery of your people, you are irrelevant. I mean, the same people you are preaching for, they don't have water, and yet you are saying nothing. I'm saying, pastors, let's stand. Next time, I told some people the other day when there was a protest. I'm part of the Pastors Fraternal. We are about 60 pastors here. All the pastors that you know in Polokwane, most of them, we are together. I said, but where were we?
In that much.
We should be in front with our collars.
Thirsty.
Yeah, because what is affecting our people is also affecting us. But the problem is you are not in the community where your church is. You are somewhere in a suburb where you're not.
Let's pray about it.
Let's pray about it.
With your borehole and
exactly. So
and
what's the difference between me and the politician, you and the politician you're complaining about? Because they don't take their children to the hospitals that don't have service there. You see, you have your medical aid with their money. If you can receive their money and you can't fight for their minimum wage, then you are irrelevant.
Occupy the space.
Occupy. We have to be there. I'll be the first in my polling station. I'll be the first to cast the vote there. I'm going there because I want change. Yeah.
So you want to change the ANC?
Well, I don't know about that.
Your word is under the ANC.
Yeah, it's under.
And you want change.
We want change. We have to see things changing. You want me to fight with my counselor? But he knows. You know, the interesting thing is I've got a very strong relationship with my counselor.
And the other thing, Pastor Don, we must not be afraid to also voice out how we want things to work. And I'm saying that sometimes, even when you love your daughter, your son too much, sometimes you feel that it's not the right time. Or you can actually assign a role and pull the person out in order to learn that there's value in that position.
You know, I have a strong relationship with my counselor because I engage him.
Yeah, we're going to change him.
I ask him questions.
And you're going to change him?
I ask him questions that nobody wants to ask him. The one time we went here, I live in Emdo. We've been having this smell of sewer for years.
Yeah, it's a sewer place there. When you
So
pass.
we went and then we met with the MMC. Very funny. So they all spoke, they spoke, and I stood, I spoke. Here is what the MMC said. Lire munna o ki muruti? That's the question asked. So I asked him, I said, oh, what
That's the MMC.
The MMC asked, Lire munna o ki muruti? Kira, how do you expect the pastor to behave?
Must come and say,
No. While I don't have water, while my children will be sick with the smell that is in my area, they know me in my community. They will not call a meeting when I'm and not involve me. Why? Because I'm a community builder.
Exactly.
I must rise and change things in our church, Cappuccino. And I'm saying this with all humility, with my history and background of having not had the privilege of school and how I saw suffering when I was doing my foundation phase. We took it upon ourselves as a church and said, we're not going to be here to make noise on Sunday. You'll be surprised to know that our church is more busy during the week than on Sunday.
It's a program. You're running programs.
We're running programs. There's a crutch going on there.
Yeah. Foundation.
Yeah, we're training, we do learnership programs, we call people, we even take money out of our own pockets. We're training people at least to do something with their own hands.
That is the community involvement I was talking about.
That's what
you can't stay there and want to make us kneel and until our knees are black there when we're not working on relevant and important things.
Didn't God say, I will bless the work of your hands? I'll bless the work of your hands. And my last words probably would be to all Christians out there. You look more like God when you are working than when you are worshiping. In fact, let me put it this way. You look more like God when you are working than when you are praying. Have you seen how holy we look with our hands lifted up on Sunday?
We'll pray about it.
But when we go to work, the worst service you get is from Christians. The laziest people, some of them. Because you see, we say we want to serve God. On Sunday, we go to service, isn't it? We're serving God on Sunday.
Yeah.
When we go to the municipality, we cry about service, customer service. It's the same word, which means to worship. That word service, we're going to a worship service. When you are at work, that work you are doing, you sitting here and doing what you are doing, this is service.
Thank you, Jesus.
This is a form of worship. If you
Thank
are
you,
a
Lord.
plumber working in doing plumbing, if you do a nasty work, you do a shibby job, you are misrepresenting God. As a matter of fact, we see God in the Bible. When we meet God for the first time, we meet him working, creating. Working, first day creating this, second day creating this, and he rested on the seventh day. But the funny thing with Christians is we want to rest 6 days and work one.
Like I was saying before we started that, I always say a prayer. We've had traditional healers say, I would even say a prayer privately because you don't want to offend anyone. But those I feel like maybe they've got beliefs, I will say a prayer, shut a short prayer right there. Because our intention as Just Talk with DJ Cappuccino is not to break people out there.
Yeah.
It is not to harm or cause anything that is bad. We want this thing to, in a way, also edify God.
Sure.
And make people realize their potential, get inspired, and do everything. We might play around these things and that. I might press there. But it's not the intention. The intention is to make sure that someone can listen and say, my life is changed. And I think from this interview, I would pick it up that as Christians, we need to go out there. We need to offer service. Sometimes service is just time.
Yeah.
We need to offer our hands. We need to take part in community programs. That's how we could be representing God. There's so much that we're still going to discuss, and I believe that this is not last time we come. Maybe next time when you come, we'll also be having specific topics.
Yeah.
Maybe you'll also come on a panel of pastors to discuss this,
good.
especially from different denominations,
That would be beautiful.
to see if we can find a common ground. But I want to thank you, Pastor Don, for being with us. I'm inspired in the level of wisdom that you operate in. I can also see that some of these things is just God answering me, is God just working through you. And it's really, really, really good. I want to thank Mabutapa Productions for being with us. Styles and Stays, the most talented young people that I've met in Polokwane, the future of digital media and production. And thank you to the viewers for listening to Just Talk with DJ Cappuccino.
Just Talk with DJ Cappuccino.